I added Quadrant to F122 and simulated through 10 seasons. Could Lando Norris' new brand win championships, or will they be a complete flop? Before we begin, 99.1% of my viewers are not subscribed, so if that is you, quickly scroll down and press that red subscribe button, as it is always greatly appreciated. Now, with the new season of Podium Pass, including a load of items relating to Lando Norris, I thought it would be a fun idea to add his brand Quadrant as a new team to the Formula 1 grid. So I loaded up MyTeam, created a new save, set all the development settings to automatic and created the team. The only difference with this simulation compared to my other ones is that this uses 16 race seasons rather than full 22 races, in order to save me time and get more videos out quicker. For this team, I used the main driver of possibly the most popular Formula 1 content creator at the moment and member of Quadrant, Arava. The team will use the Lando Norris livery on screen and will use a Mercedes engine due to Lando using a Mercedes engine in his current McLaren. For this first season, Arava will be partnered with the veteran of Nico Hulkenberg. So let's get into the simulation. Starting off in Season 1, and all drivers will be at their current teams for the 2022 season, since this is technically the 2022 season. But in the first season of this alternate universe, it is Ferrari who win the Constructors' Championship, with their driver of Charles Leclerc also taking the Drivers' Championship after winning 9 races throughout the season. Max Verstappen finishes 98 points behind after winning 4 races with 2 fastest laps. Carlos Sainz finished in P3 after winning his first races in Formula 1, as well as securing 5 fastest laps and winning the 3 sprint races to earn extra points. The Mercedes driver of George Russell secured his first win in his first season in his new team. A fairly solid debut season for Quadrant allowed the team to finish P6 in the Constructors, just behind Alpine. Arava managed to secure a P12 finish after scoring 6 points in this season, with his teammate of Nico Hulkenberg finishing P13 with 5. At the end of the season, regulation changes to chassis and durability departments could cause a shake-up going into Season 2. Driver moves could also have an effect on that after 2 driver retirements. First, the Alfa Romeo driver of Valtteri Bottas, and then the McLaren driver of Daniel Ricciardo. The Alfa Romeo is taken by Oscar Piastri, as he makes his debut in F1. Fernando Alonso moves into the open McLaren, with Alex Albon jumping to Alpine. This opens a seat in Williams for Kevin Magnussen to move into, allowing Zhou Guanyu to move into another Ferrari-powered car of the Haas. Robert Schwartzman is then able to make his debut in Formula 1 with Alfa Romeo. Moving on into Season 2, and it's Ferrari that managed to retain their Constructors' Championships after their drivers win 6 races this season. Despite this, it is the Red Bull driver of Max Verstappen who takes the Drivers' Championship after winning 5 races, as well as setting 3 fastest laps. Carlos Sainz managed P2 by just 1 point, despite winning half the amount of races than his teammate. Sainz did manage 6 extra points for setting fastest laps throughout the season. Charles Leclerc won 4 races with 2 fastest laps and also took the sprint win in Imola. Fernando Alonso managed to win 3 races on his return to a McLaren, finishing in P4. His teammate of Lando Norris is still looking for his first Grand Prix win in the sport, but he did manage the sprint win in Brazil. The Mercedes struggled this season with P4 in the Constructors, and George Russell securing 2 wins, but his teammate couldn't quite match that standard. A disappointing season for Quadrant, season dropped to 10th in the Constructors' Championship after both drivers failed to score a point. P17 for Arava and P18 for Hulkenberg means they will be hoping to capitalise on the new regulations for the next season, with changes being made to the aerodynamics and powertrain departments. Once again, 2 drivers are to retire at the end of the season, starting off with Fernando Alonso, who says goodbye after a strong final season with McLaren. This allows the young German of Mick Schumacher to switch teams, with his mentor of Sebastian Vettel taking his seat in the Haas. Oscar Piastri then moves into the Aston Martin, and Dan Ticktum is set to make his debut with Alfa Romeo next season. The Quadrant driver of Nico Hulkenberg is also set to retire, meaning the team will have to look elsewhere for another driver. This results in Lance Stroll moving away from Aston Martin for a seat in the Quadrant car. Felipe Drugovich will make his Formula 1 debut as he replaces Stroll in the Aston Martin. Into Season 3, and it's another dominated display from Ferrari as they win their 3rd consecutive Constructors' Championship in this simulation. Back on top is Charles Leclerc, who dominated the Drivers' Championship, leading Max Verstappen by over 130 points. He won 10 races this season with 8 fastest laps and 2 sprint wins. Lando Norris finally found that first win in his career, as he also won 2 other times for P3. Max Verstappen finished in P2 after winning just 1 race this season. The other Ferrari driver of Carlos Sainz also managed to secure 2 wins to help the team win the championship and helped him finish P4. Fastest laps were then shared around between 7 drivers, including Mick Schumacher, George Russell and Esteban Ocon, all setting the fastest lap each. Another disappointing season for the Quadrant team, as they once again failed to score a single point, even with their new driver of Lance Stroll. However, but they do make up a place in the constructors as they overtake Aston Martin to finish P9. The two drivers also make up positions on the previous season, with Arava finishing in P15 and Lance Stroll in P17. No regulation changes will come into effect at the end of the season, but once again a driver is set to retire. The 7-time champion of Lewis Hamilton decides it's finally time to stop racing and will retire at the end of the 2024 season after failing to win a race since 2021. This causes a large knock-on effect of driver moves. Firstly, Esteban Ocon finally gets his seat in the Mercedes after a few seasons with the Renault and Alpine team. The Quadrant driver of Lance Stroll takes the opportunity to move away as he joins the Alpine team. Quadrant then go out and have to find another driver to sign, and this comes in the form of Kevin Magnussen. This causes a rather strange move, with Max Verstappen moving to Williams and Nicholas Latifi moving the other way to join Red Bull. This leaves an open seat in the Williams for Yuri Vips to take and to make his debut in Formula 1. As we move into Season 4, not much has changed, with Ferrari once again taking another Constructors' Championship, after their drivers accumulate 10 wins throughout the 16-race season. Charles Leclerc managed to win 8 races to take his third Drivers' Championship, as well as 4 fastest laps and a sprint win. Lando Norris improves on last season as he managed 5 wins for P2 in the championship. He is followed by Carlos Sainz, who continues his tradition of winning 2 races every season. Mick Schumacher also takes his first ever F1 win in the McLaren in only his second season with a winning car. Improvements are made from Quadrant this season as they are actually able to score points, with Arava being beaten by his teammate for the first time in this save. Magnussen finished in P12 with 5 points and Arava finished just behind in P13 with 2. This boosted the team into 7th place in the Constructors, and the future is looking strong if they can adapt to the regulation changes. These changes will be made to the chassis, powertrain and durability departments. Driver retirement seems to be guaranteed in every season, with it being Sebastian Vettel who retires after this season, allowing Theo Pourchaire to make his Formula 1 debut in the Haas. Mercedes saw the uplift in season Kevin Magnussen had with Quadrant and worked out a deal for a straight swap with Esteban Ocon. Robert Schwartzman loses his Alfa Romeo seat as Guan Yu Zhou returns after a couple seasons at Haas. Dan Tickton will move the other way, allowing Liam Lawson the opportunity to drive in Formula 1 with Alfa Romeo. Before we get into the results for Season 5, there was a mid-season transfer. Esteban Ocon, currently driving with Quadrant, signed a contract to race for the final half of the season, meaning he would lose his seat in Formula 1. This forced Quadrant to sign a new driver, and instead of trying to pry one away from another team, they decided to sign the newly made free agent of Robert Schwartzman to finish the season. Ferrari make it 5 Constructors' Championships in a row after successfully adapting to the new regulations. They finished with a 1-2 in the drivers, and Charles Leclerc once again wins the championship. He won half the races this season, with the other half won by 6 drivers. First off, Lando Norris and Alex Albon both won 2 races each. Sergio Perez, Mick Schumacher, Carlos Sainz and Yuki Tsunoda all taking 1 win this season. After all the contract hubbub, Quadrant still finished in P9 on 0 points. Ocon finished P15 on 0 points after only racing for the first half of the season, but his replacement eventually finished in P22 out of 23. Arava finished a lowly P19 after the team failed to adapt well enough to compete in the midfield. However, there will be next season to capitalise on this, as there will be no regulation changes going into Season 6. Just a 1 driver move at the end of the season, as Quadrant managed to convince Esteban Ocon to drive for them again next season, making Robert Schwartzman once again a free agent. Someone has finally toppled Ferrari at the top of the Constructors' Championship, because in Season 6, McLaren are the Constructors' Champions. Not only has a team beat Ferrari, but Lando Norris also beat Charles Leclerc and the drivers to win his first ever World Championship. It was highly deserved after Norris won 11 out of 16 races this season, as well as setting 6 fastest laps and winning 2 sprint races. The remaining races and sprint races were all won by Charles Leclerc. The fastest lap points were spread out low, with Leclerc, Gasly and Russell all gaining 2 points for fastest laps, with Ocon, Sainz, Schumacher and Alex Albon all setting 1 fastest lap at some point in the season. A much stronger season for Quadrant after Esteban Ocon completed a full season with the team, finishing in the highest ever position tied with Season 1, but definitely had the most points. The team finished on 108 points, double the amount that Red Bull scored behind. Ocon contributed the majority of them points as he scored 76 for a P8 finish in the Drivers' Championship, with Arava finishing his highest ever in P12 with 32 points. Going into the next season, there will be some changes made to the regulations regarding the aerodynamics and powertrain departments. At the end of the season, Lando Norris does his best Nico Rosberg impression and retires after winning his first and only World Drivers' Championship. This allows Richard Verschoor to take that seat in the McLaren and make his debut next season. Quadrant and McLaren also make a deal in order to swap drivers. This means that Mick Schumacher will move to Quadrant and Esteban will move away and drive for McLaren next season. As we move on into Season 7, there were some mid-season moves. Firstly, the McLaren driver of Richard Verschoor is made a free agent after just 8 races, in which he was actually leading the championship at that point, so it was kind of weird, but he is replaced by the Red Bull driver of Sergio Perez. This allows Juri Vips to make the move away from Williams and move into the open Red Bull seat. Dan Ticktum moves away from the Haas into Williams, allowing Robert Schwartzman to return and drive for Haas. Ferrari returned to the top of the constructors in Season 7, as well as Charles Leclerc returning to Drivers' Championship glory for the 5th time. McLaren losing both of their drivers meant that new drivers had to step up. Richard Verschoor did this by winning the race when he was dropped mid-season while leading the championship. Charles Leclerc managed to win 8 races this season, with his teammate of Carlos Sainz winning 1. George Russell won 3 races this season to take P2, with Mick Schumacher also taking 3 wins with his new team, helping him finish P4. The Quadrant had a much stronger season this year as he finished P4, but Arava couldn't quite match his teammate's performance as he misses out on top 10, finishing P14 on 35 points. No regulation changes are coming into the effect for next season, but there is a driver retirement. The Frenchman of Pierre Gasly is set to retire at the end of the season, causing some other drivers to move about. Nicholas Latifi is demoted from Red Bull into the now open AlphaTauri seat, with Lance Stroll taking his place. Liam Lawson then makes a swap from Alfa Romeo to Alpine, allowing the former race winner of Richard Verschoor to return to Formula 1 with Alfa Romeo. McLaren have managed to replicate their achievements from Season 6 as they are once again the Constructors' Champions. However, Ocon and Perez couldn't stop Leclerc from winning his 6th championship. It was a tight battle at the top with 21 points separating the top 4. Leclerc finished on 248, Stroll and Ocon both finished on 238, with Stroll winning more races to finish in P2, and Schumacher finished in P4, finished on 227 despite winning the most races. Leclerc and Lance Stroll both won 4 races, with Esteban Ocon winning the remaining 3. Unfortunately for Ferrari, Carlos Sainz failed to win any races or even consistently finish in high scoring positions, allowing the pairing of Perez and Ocon to take the title. Quadrant are continuing to improve as they finish in P3 this season, with Schumacher in 4th and Arava managing to finish in top 10 with a P8 finish on 108 points. He is still yet to win a race, but he did pick up the sprint win in Austria. Not many changes going into next season as there will be no regulation changes and just one driver move. The Alpine driver of Alex Albon will swap with the Mercedes driver of Kevin Magnussen and will race for new teams for Season 9. McLaren continued to win the Constructors' Championship for the 2nd season in a row, with a McLaren driver back on top for the first time since Season 6. This time, it's Esteban Ocon who wins his first ever Drivers' Championship after achieving 5 wins and setting the fastest lap throughout the season. His teammate finished in 3rd after getting 4 fastest lap points, but the Quadrant driver of Mick Schumacher is sandwiched in the middle after winning 5 races to finish P2. Charles Leclerc continued to show he could still race by winning 3 races this season, with the Red Bulls of Juri Vips and Lance Stroll taking 1 win each. Up to P2 now for Quadrant, with just 1 season left of this simulation, and will they be able to take either a Drivers' or Constructors' Championship? Schumacher is trying his hardest to win a trophy, but due to Arava always starting at the back of the grid, it is difficult for Quadrant to win anything. Arava is still yet to win a race in F1, but finished P9 on 88 points. Going into the final season, there will be both regulation changes and a driver retirement. Changes will be made to the regulations regarding the chassis department. The driver that is set to retire actually stayed with the same team all the way through this experiment, with Yuki Tsunoda finally saying goodbye to Formula 1. He is replaced by Zhou Guanyu. The open seat in the Alfa Romeo is given to Mick Schumacher after he is replaced at Quadrant by Carlos Sainz. The Ferrari seat is then given to the Williams driver of Dan Ticktum, allowing Jehan Daruvala to make his debut in F1. Dan Ticktum's time is cut short at Ferrari when they realise they have signed the wrong Williams driver, as they swap him out for Max Verstappen halfway through the final season. Quadrant just miss out on the Constructors' Championship in this final season as they finish just 13 points behind McLaren. Carlos Sainz, however, will take the first and only silverware for Quadrant in this simulation after he takes the Drivers' Championship, winning 7 races this season. Ocon and Juri Vips both win 4 races throughout the season to finish in P2 and P3. P4 is then taken by the other McLaren of Sergio Perez after winning just 1 race this season. Arava managed to go with 10 seasons without a single win, as he finishes in P6 with Quadrant remaining in P2. Obviously, this is the final season of the simulation, so there will be no regulation changes or driver moves to be informed of, but we will have a look at the final stats for all 10 seasons. Within the space of 10 seasons, only 2 teams won a Constructors' Championship, those being the 6-time winners of Ferrari and then the 4-time winners of McLaren. Quadrant did get close on quite a few situations, but didn't quite manage to seal the deal. More diversity was achieved in the Drivers' Championship with 5 different winners. Max Verstappen won his only title of the simulation very early on and was never able to replicate it. Charles Leclerc becomes the 3rd most successful driver of all time after winning 6 Drivers' Championships. Lando Norris, Ocon and Carlos Sainz all take their first title. 14 different drivers were able to win at least one race throughout the 10 seasons though, with Charles Leclerc of course winning the most with 59. Quite a large gap then to Lando Norris with 21, followed by Carlos Sainz with 17. Mick Schumacher was the highest on this list to not win a Drivers' Championship after winning 16 races in 10 seasons. Ocon and Max Verstappen, 12 and 10 each, were both successful in getting their hands on the trophy, but George Russell with 6 wins was not. The 2 final Red Bull drivers of Lance Stroll and Yuri Vips both managed to secure 5 wins, with Fernando Alonso winning another 3 times before retiring early on. Sergio Perez and Alex Albon managed to win twice, with Tsunoda and Vasseur also becoming one-time race winners. Now, if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up. Hopefully we can hit probably about 500 likes, I'd say. Once again, the support has been absolutely insane recently, and I'm so thankful to anyone and everyone who watches my videos. Hopefully the next video shouldn't take too long to be uploaded, but go down below to the description, click the links and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. But that is it for today. Goodbye.